What's up, you guys? Welcome back to WIDEBODY Nation. Many of you in the WIDEBODY Nation have been asking me tons of different great lease questions. So I've compiled this video after talking to dealerships, after leasing cars myself, and after helping people get into lease deals into about 3 sections. So first of all, we're going to talk about the 2 best lease calculators that I have access to, and I will then link them on widebodynation.com, and I'll show you guys that. So we'll go over actually calculating your lease deal. Now, obviously, the best numbers are going to be from an actual dealership, right? Because they're the ones who are going to be connecting the dots between the banks and yourself for that lease, right? But we'll get to that. Part number two. Part number 2 of this video is going to be answering a lot of specific questions you guys had. They're all kind of under the same umbrella. It's like very kind of niche lease questions. Can you upgrade a lease? Can you buy a car out of a lease? All those type of questions about leasing. I'm going to go ahead and answer a string of those that are basically directly from me to you out there who've been just straight up DMing me and commenting on those specific questions. Third, we are going to sum this video up by going over the pros and the cons of leasing when compared to buying a car cash or buying a car finance style, from the dealership, either with dealership financing or from your preferred lender. I do have a full video on that only talks about that last topic, but with this new information with this video, we're going to go over it again just because some people may or may not have forgotten. Check that video out right here if you guys would like to after this video. So with that being said, like I said, all the available resources will be available to you on realwidebodynation.com. Simply type it in. The link is in the description and the pinned comment below. Speaking of Real Wide Body Nation, you guys already know about the monthly payment calculator here if you should want to finance a vehicle. This is the best one on the internet, and I reset the formulas every day. Lastly, before we jump into section number 1, we have our $30 for signing up for M1 Finance, and you have your 4 free stocks when you sign up for Webull. Both of these simply require you to open an account and then deposit your first $100 to start trading. I don't know if you guys have been checking out what's going on with GameStop, AMC. A lot of companies are doing crazy things right now. It's a big earnings week, so if you're not in the market, I would highly suggest it with these 2 apps. I like them better than Robinhood personally. So with that being said, I have 2 lease calculators for you guys. One is an odd way of going about it, but it is very useful to me. This is the dealership Ashboro Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. It is in, you guessed it, Ashboro, North Carolina. Now you might say, hey, WIDEBODY Nation, why are we talking about this specific website for a lease calculator? Well, their website is formatted in a pretty intuitive way, and they not only have a finance monthly payment calculator that is good in my opinion, they have a lease one too. Now keep in mind that this is a Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat wide body red eye that is similarly spec'd to mine, except it has these wheels and not the lightweight ones that I'm getting. Monthly payments and the lease payments are going to be high, folks. So let's check it out. I'll do a SCAT pack after this. So when you jump in here, their lease section actually lets you manipulate the terms of the lease. This is in contrast to Dodge's website. So say you go build a base model Dodge Charger wide body SCAT pack, Dodge will give you a lease payment, but this is literally, they'll just say, hey, your lease payment's $460 a month if you do this, 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 and this, and your credit is this. Boom, that is it. So it's not very helpful in my opinion on the Dodge website. This one actually allows you guys to pick a car that hopefully is close to the value of your vehicle, whether it's a SCAT pack wide body, whether it's a narrow body RT, whether it's a Hellcat red eye, whatever it may be. If they have it in stock here, you can get close with as pretty much close to a real world estimate, in my opinion, as you can get. I would say this lease calculator is probably within about 10% accuracy. For leases, that is very helpful. For monthly payments on a finance deal, that is not close. But leases are tough, guys, because it's a very specific deal. Obviously, you put in your credit, then you can, the best part about this is that you can see, okay, is a 24-month lease going to change my payments drastically? Okay, it is. What about 36 months? What about 39 months? Oh, 39 months. Okay, 39 months help me out. 42. Okay. 36 months seems to be the way to go. And then you can check out the mileage here. You can do, okay, 15,000 mileage. How much does that affect my payment? 15,000 mileage, it's only 15,000 miles compared to 12,000 is only like 40 bucks more. Seems like 15,000 is kind of the way to go. Then you can do your due at signing here. So if you want to do less of a down payment, only do 2 grand, then boom, you do that and it'll recalculate it for you. So this website is very helpful. Now, the only downside of it is that you actually have to do it with a car on their website, from my understanding. I've never been able to just do it with whatever car I want on here. So keep that in mind. However, if you mess with the down, if you guys are looking to get as close to possible with the car that you want, I would just manipulate the down payment to adjust for the price of the vehicle, if you guys understand what I'm saying. Hit me in the comments below if you guys want more information on that. The other calculator, which is much more generic, is on Edmunds.com. Now, this one is up to you to do the research because it has a ton of different inputs. Now, obviously your zip code, title and registration, that is up to you and it varies by state. Taxes and title and registration obviously varies by state because everyone has different tax rates, but in some states some states only tax leases on the amount of your lease payments, whereas other states tax the entirety of the vehicle as if it was sold. So make sure you check with your local dealer or your state, tax office if you're trying to get the best number to put in here. I put in a base wide body SCAT pack price here. Cash incentives. Now remember, Power Dollars is for finance/cash deals, not lease deals. So if you're going to buy a 2020, you're not going to get a $4,850 cash off deal on the lease. Right now, a 2021 SCAT pack has $1,000 off. And in my opinion, SCAT packs are going to have high residual value because obviously they're super popular and they hold their value well. So we're going to go with high here. If you guys are wondering what residual value is, every single thing here has a question mark or a little intelligent button next to it. So it will tell you, it'll explain more. Now, it might require some more Googling on your part, but I'm going to do my best to explain it to you here. Value of your trade-in, this is pretty easy. Obviously, if your value is less than the amount you owe, then you're going to have a negative equity situation, which might require a bigger down payment, or you'll just bundle it into the loan/lease. This is a new phrase for us, right? Cap cost reduction. Basically, it's just another way of saying how much cash they want you to put up front to reduce the monthly payment. In other words, it's your down payment, okay? It's oversimplified, but it's basically your down payment. Acquisition fee. Sometimes you see these, sometimes you don't. If they're charging you what seems to be a really high acquisition fee, I would Google what a appropriate acquisition fee is, or just ask the dealer. Say like, hey, what's going on with this acquisition fee? And maybe that'll press them to try to work it down for you. Obviously, the lease term, which you can manipulate, 30. This one only has 36. It does not have 24. So that is a weakness of this calculator. Annual miles, that's pretty easy for you guys, but it only has these 3 options. And then the money factor, that's also another specific lease term. So the money factor is essentially the interest rate that you're going to pay, but they renamed it because of them being fancy and leases just technically being different than finance deals. So you can convert the money factor to an interest rate, but obviously the money factor is going to be, it's going to go up, aka your interest rate is going to go up the worse your credit is. So that is something to consider. And then also you got to keep in mind that some banks require lease deals to have security deposits. So you will have your cap cost reduction, aka your down payment, but you may also have a security deposit, which you guys know what security deposits are, but like, it's money that they are holding on to so that if you return the lease all jacked up, they don't have to hound you for as much money or for maybe any money. So if you return the lease with $1,000 of damage and your security deposit was $1,000, then boom, they already got the money and they don't even need to go after you, right? Just saying. I will do a separate video on leasing aftermarket pay or back-end office protection plans for leasing because I got a lot of value out of my protection plan when I had a lease. I turned my lease in with some damage to it. Didn't have to file a claim with insurance. So I owe you guys a video on that. So this calculator is at Edmunds.com. You can either find it using Google or the links below. I'll have that available for you guys. So let's go ahead and jump into answering some of your questions that you guys asked. So the first question that I get, I would say probably the most from you guys is, can you, first of all, can you buy a car off a lease? And the answer is usually yes. Now, please keep in mind that in this video, it's both my opinions and what I've seen and what I've asked about. Now, if in your contract from your bank or from your dealership it says something that directly contradicts with what I say, then obviously the contract is going to overrule what I say in this video. Okay, so just a disclaimer there. So first of all, yes, you can buy a car off a lease. Usually people come to this junction, come to this decision point when they get to the end of their lease, right? Makes sense. Now, should you buy a car off a lease is a whole nother question. I can see people wanting to buy cars off a lease if they have really babied the car, really taken good care of it, really fallen in love with the car. However, personally, one of the best parts of leasing is that you kind of are getting like a rental car for a long period of time. And I'm not saying you should beat on it, but you could. And you could basically just get some oil changes, some tire rotations, maybe some new brakes, some new windshield wipers, new cabin air filter, and that's pretty much it. That's one of the big pros of leasing is you got a new car, it's not going to require a lot of maintenance. So in my mind, you're kind of undoing one of the benefits of a lease if you're going to then buy a car that you may or may not have driven hard or maybe not been hyper meticulous on oil changes or whatever it may be, if you understand kind of what I'm putting down here. But it is possible, yes. Should you? That's more in your court. Also, should you? Well, it depends on the deal you made, because if the dealership is trying to sell you the car for a stupid price, a stupid high price, then you shouldn't. The dealership is trying to give you the car for a steal, then maybe you should. You could just turn around and sell it. I mean, if they're going to give it to you super low, then you could just sell it. So really deal dependent and kind of opinion dependent on your opinion and how you drive your cars, especially when you lease them. Next question. Can you upgrade a lease before it's time to turn your car in and then get another lease, right? So one specific question I was asked is, I have a 2019 RT narrow body, but I'm trying to jump into the WIDEBODY Nation. Welcome. I'm trying to get in the WIDEBODY Nation with the 2021 SCAT Pack WIDEBODY. But obviously the lease still has some time on it for the 19. Again, generally speaking, yes, this is possible. Should you do it? Whole nother ballgame. Here are some things you might want to consider. If you have a really, really good lease deal, then you may or may not be able to replicate that on your replacement lease deal. Now, when I say replacement, the dealership that you go to get your WIDEBODY SCAT Pack is going to have to basically close out your first lease and then do another lease. So if you are in a positive equity or a good situation with your current lease, then your next lease could be a good or a great deal. Now, if you're in a negative equity situation, just like if you're just doing a normal trade-in, you're going to be swimming upstream. You're going to be fighting. You're going to have to pay somewhere, whether it's rolled in, whether it is a bigger down payment, or whether, you guys kind of understand what I'm saying. Like, they can't just be, they can't just say, like, you just can't just roll in with your 19 and they say, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, let's switch this out real quick. All right, slap hands. All right, later, dude. Like, good job. Your monthly payments up by $100 now. No, like, they got to close out that old lease. And then there's results from the closeout, whether it's positive or negative or neutral. Maybe you come out with the goose egg and it's good to go. Just, all right, give me that WIDEBODY. Then you have to do the whole deal for the 2021 or whatever car you're getting into, right? So can you? Usually, yes. Again, if your contract says that you can't, or that there's a penalty, or that there's an early termination fee, the contract will trump what I'm saying in this video. But generally speaking, the dealerships are going to be willing to work with you, or at least willing to try to get the deal done because they want to make another deal, right? All right. Last question for this middle segment. As far as leasing goes, it's more of a recommendation than a question. A lot of you guys have been asking me questions about your leases specifically, or about like hypothetical leases that you want to do. With leases, they're so specific and so individual according to the banks that write them. I highly recommend you find a Dodge dealership that can answer your questions for you, that's happy to answer your questions, because all of the questions you guys are ping ponging off of me, I end up doing that. I end up asking the Dodge dealers, I end up referring to my experience, and I end up Googling it online and doing a bunch of research for it. So while the information I can give you on these is as targeted and as personalized as possible within the scope of, having thousands of subscribers, hundreds of comments per video, stuff like that, you know, user experience varies, and only you can convey every single piece of your specific situation, which is what dealerships are paid to do. So I know a lot of you guys have bad experiences with the dealerships, but try to find a good one that can give you as much information as you want. And if they won't, then that's not a good dealership, and then move to the next one, right? You don't have to go in to get this information necessarily. Okay? So that is my kind of recommendation slash opinion, right? All right. Last thing. Leasing versus finance versus cash. Now, again, there's that entire video that I did on all the pros and cons, but let's just go over a quick summary now that we know a little bit more of the ways to calculate a lease deal, because maybe you came in this video thinking leasing was not a good idea, but now you're like, oh, okay, like, well, at least I can do the calculations now. At least I know a couple hypotheticals. All right, what are the pros and cons again? Like, what are we working with here? So now keep in mind the numbers here were for a 2020, like really bare bones Charger Hellcat wide body. Pros of leasing: a lot of times the monthly payments are going to be equal to or lower than some pretty competitive monthly payments, 60, 72 months at a low interest rate. Now, again, it's going to depend on your credit score, it's going to depend on your trade-in, if you have any, it's going to depend on how much money you want to put down, all these things. But we'll kind of move away from the monthly payment for now, although generally the monthly payments are competitive or lower than financing. Low maintenance, I would say, is one of the highest perks, if not the best thing. Is like you're getting that new car, and not only are you getting the new car, you're only getting it for 2 to 4 years, so you can, I'm not saying you should, but you could drive it hard, and you could be a little bit blasé about the maintenance schedule for the car. Just saying. Now, there's a lot of times lease companies will stipulate that you have to do X, Y, Z, but they're not usually like super strict about it. We'll leave it at that. New car every 2 to 4 years. Now, if you have a problem like me and you like to try to buy as many cars and sell as many cars as possible every year, if you have a kind of a car addiction, leasing can be a good way to scratch the itch without just totally wrapping up a bunch of money, a bunch of debt to income, affecting your credit score as much. It's just you're just renting a car basically for a long period of time. That's what leasing is. So new car every 2 to 4 years, you scratch the itch, get a new car, you can switch around, you can be real ADD, you go to get a Dodge one time, and then 2 years later you're in a BMW, and then 2 years later you're in a Honda, whatever it may be. It's probably a real kind of a backwards way of looking at it, but okay. And then low or no down payment or security deposit, just like fine. I mean, this one is probably the weakest one here. That's kind of subjective, just because like I'm used to working with I have a good credit score and I've done a ton of car deals, so I usually try to do low or no down payment and as little security deposit as possible. So that's a little bit jaded of me, but if you can get a lease with little to no down payment, little to no acquisition fee, and little to no security deposit, that would be a pro compared to maybe a bank requiring some type of down payment for a loan. Now, cons of the lease: generally speaking, you're gonna need good or great credit. Like, the leasing thing gets out of hand pretty quick as soon as you go below good credit, because the banks are just they get really skeptical really quickly on leases, because they start thinking like, okay, if this person has lower credit, like what the heck are they going to do to this car that we're basically long-term renting to them? And that's not me being judgmental. I'm just like, basically, from what I've seen, If you have okay credit, you're probably better off potentially going and eating a worse interest rate because you might not even qualify for a lease even with a massive down payment or security deposit. Like getting leases for some people with satisfactory or lower credit scores has been a very big challenge for me. Even for people who have even good credit scores, has been sometimes challenging. Some people look at leases also as a money down the drain concept. Like, if you're renting an apartment rather than buying a house, it's kind of the same idea. Now, with cars, most of them being depreciating vehicles, I'm not going to call them assets because most people do not make money with their cars, so they're not assets, they're liabilities. With that being said, the way I look at it is that you're going to be making a monthly payment either way if you finance it or if you lease it. So this is a little bit of a weak one. You're not necessarily gaining any equity, but you're also going to be losing equity or losing value in a car regardless. So kind of a weak one there. Mileage restraints, mileage anxiety is definitely a thing. That's why I always encourage people to do 12 or 15,000 mile leases because when I had my car, when I had my 2017 Charger Daytona leased, mileage anxiety was a thing, and I didn't really enjoy that aspect of it. So I would rather have gone with 15,000 miles than 12,000. And the monthly payment difference is usually not that big, so it's worth the extra 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks a month to not have to watch your odometer like every day. Equity, we kind of already touched on that. Modifications, you guys, if you like to modify your car, you better keep all the stock parts, is all I can say. Standard little bolt-ons, superficial stuff, window tints, those are going to probably be okay in my opinion, but it's going to have to come back to the dealership as stock as possible, or else, like if you return a leased car with aftermarket rims on it, you run the risk of that company charging you to replace stock wheels and tires, which I don't know if you guys have ever gotten quotes for stock wheels and tires, but it'll surprise you. Like random generic wheels could cost hundreds or thousands of dollars, and that's not even what the good tires on there too. So if you're gonna modify a leased car, I would highly recommend you keep all those stock parts. Lastly, a lot of people look at the pro of a lease is that you get a new car every 2 to 4 years, right? That's one pro. But some people get worried that they're going to be locked in. Like some of you guys we already covered. You hit me up and you said, hey, I have a 2019 RT. I want to get into a 2021 wide body. Am I locked in or can I switch it up? Well, it's basically like any other thing. Like usually there's a way to get out of it, but what is the cost or what is the benefit of getting out of it? Like if you have a really loose lease contract that has no stipulations, it just says, hey, like there's no fees for getting out of it. There's no verbiage in the contract saying XYZ about exiting your contract early. Then you're pretty much good to go. If you see something shiny over there, go get that. Exit out of this contract, get into that one, good to go. But if you have clauses in there, early termination fees, whatever it may be, whatever they want to phrase it as, that's going to be something you're going to have to evaluate, the cost of to get into the thing you want, the wide body or whatever it may be. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We are well on our way to 5,000 subscribers, at which time I will give away these $250 Apple AirPods Pro on a live stream. So simply change that subscribe button from red to gray. And make sure you guys check out RealWideBodyNation.com for our M1 finance and for our Webull offers. That's over $51 worth of value if you guys go ahead and do both of those. I will be updating this tab tonight with some more offers if you guys are already tired and opened those accounts, tired of hearing from me on those. That being said, make sure you guys check out the website. We got all our social media on here. Facebook all the way down to Instagram, Twitter, Teespring, all the good stuff. I have more videos coming out on this specific website right here on Wealthy Affiliate in case you guys are looking to start learning how to build websites, learning how to make money online. This is how I started, and it has some valuable resources there. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I have plenty more videos coming out. I know I had a light Tuesday. It was a light Tuesday. Had class for the masters. I did all this other stuff. Not excuses, just saying. I'm going to start posting videos every day that ends in Y. I will see you guys for the next video.